Leach here from the St. Louis Tom Lombardo chapter of the National Football Foundation. Tonight we're talking with Lee Ward. He lives in Atlanta. He was a 2010 recipient for the NFF Awards. He went to Parkway Central High School. He played linebacker, running back there, was a two-time All-State player, walked on to Stanford, and was selected captain later on, which is a story in itself. Played in the Rose Bowl, experienced two Pac-12 championships, and their team was ranked in the top 10 for 3 years while he was there. He also played for the Carolina Panthers and is a business investor and a tech guru in Atlanta. So there's some interesting parts in here that I think you'll enjoy. This is for our membership, so I hope you enjoy this interview with Lee Ward. Thank you. How you doing, Lee?
I'm doing great, Ken. How are you today?
Good. So you're warm in Atlanta?
I'm trying to stay warm. It's been showers and high 40s, but I'm not missing the St. Louis cold today. So I know it's been freezing there, and there's probably some snow on the ground. So
Oh, it's terrible. It's what is it, Kelly?
Like 8 inches. The temperature is, well, my watch says it's 2 degrees.
oh no.
I don't want to talk about the wind chill.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm sorry, guys.
That's really bad. You're probably loving it right now where you're at.
Yep, definitely.
So you used to live in St. Louis, obviously, and all of our members know that you were a former award recipient for the National Football Foundation College Hall of Fame. And when you were back here, you went to Parkway Central, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Parkway Central. So I actually grew up in Clayton and then moved to Chesterfield kind of when I was 7, 8 years old. Ended up going to Parkway Central, middle school, high school. Played for the junior Colts and then ultimately the team there at Parkway Central. So it was a great time there, and I think it's a great program and continues to be. Mark Goldenberg, the head coach, just retired this year, and I was lucky enough to have him as a head coach because I can say nothing but great things about him and what he's done for the program there.
So I used to coach the Oakville Junior Tigers, and I think we played Parkway Central there one year. It was a good game. You guys, one thing I remember, I went to Oakville too. I remember the Colts were always known for just being tough players.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't always having the best quarterbacks and all this stuff, but they would hit hard and they would run hard. And what do you remember about your days back then?
Yeah, I would say that's probably true. That's the type of program that we've tried to run. Is just kind of that tough, kind of hard-nosed football program that you know and love. And that's really what I remember from it. And I just remember kind of the coaching staff, how good of a job they did bringing the team together. We had a very kind of intricate off-season program to work out and kind of get in shape. So I think it was kind of a very well-run program. But at the end of the day, to your point, it was built on kind of physicality and what we know football as is today. It wasn't a spread offense by any means. It was two running backs, run the ball downhill and stop the run. And I think it continues to be that. If you look at some of the guys now that have moved on, you got Colin Saunders, who plays for the Chiefs at D-line, who's kind of one of those hard-nosed guys. And I think that's kind of the type of player that they look to produce there.
So when you were in that system, tell me, I saw one of your films and you're an awesome blocker.
Mm-hmm.
You square up on them and you get a good balance on them. And I'd say half the time you had them on the ground and you're on top of them, which is pretty wild. When did you get that philosophy? Who taught you that? Who helped you with that?
I don't know if it's something that you can necessarily be taught. I think for me at a young age, right, on my own, I asked for dumbbells in like the 6th grade. As weird enough as that is, as a birthday present from my dad. So I think it's kind of a mix of wanting to know, just I always enjoyed that style of football. Growing up in the Midwest, my dad grew up in Chicago, was a huge Bears fan. So I think watching highlight tapes of like Mike Allstott, Lorenzo Neal, a lot of kind of the power runners and power players that existed in that day. I think I tried to kind of learn as much as I could from those tapes, as well as kind of try to build myself up as a player from from a young age, having asked for dumbbells and started working out at a young age, so I could develop and do those things on the field.
Who were the coaches that were coaching you up there in high school then?
Yeah, it was Mark Goldenberg.
Mhm.
What was the head coach? Rick Kirby was the defensive coordinator. So he's had a long career coaching basketball, one of the better basketball coaches in the state of Missouri. But he ultimately became our defensive coordinator at the time and took that intensity and passion that he had for basketball to the defensive side of the ball. Mike Wright coached a lot of the offense. Aaron Miller, and then our strength coach is the current track coach Ryan Bana. So it was a kind of a well-rounded program there.
So Aaron Miller coached football with my husband at
Oh,
Melville
no
High
way.
School, and yeah, he used to hang out with us a lot just because we went to his wedding. Well, you might have been at his wedding, and so that's kind of funny. It's a small world. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I love Coach Mills. He when I was in high school, he was the scout team quarterback as well. So he was putting on his best Blaine Gabbert impression whenever we played Parkway West, and he did a great job of it. So probably a lot better than a lot of the quarterbacks in the suburban South. Nothing against the other quarterbacks, but he was just particularly good. I would say a lot better than your average high school quarterback.
And you played linebacker and fullback then, right?
Yeah, I was playing running back on offense, but same deal. So I was carrying the ball a lot, also kind of running defense, calling plays. So yeah, so a lot of different things were going on. Obviously, a lot to do. I would say that my body after games was pretty shot, having taken a lot of hits and given out a lot of hits, but obviously it was a great opportunity to make plays on the defensive side of the ball, as well as kind of run the ball and move the ball down the field. I would say in high school I was probably a better defensive player than offensive player. I was two-time All-State at linebacker. Racked up a lot of tackles, some sacks. But ultimately, when I went to college, I think I realized that my real kind of ability was on the offensive side of the ball, and I felt like my real kind of calling was playing fullback, just based on my build and the type of player I was in high school.
It's funny how when you go to college and you're all state and all conference and captain your team, and then you go to college and everybody on the team is all state captains of their team. It's kind of funny. And then you tend to just go where you can make a difference, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had opportunities to play deep on the defensive side of the ball, but I think I realized that I would be a lot better kind of long term on the offensive side of the ball, in specific playing fullback. Um, so yeah, I ultimately decided to do that and play at a program where I'd play fullback.
Do you remember or do you know if it was Coach Golden that nominated you for the National Football Foundation award?
I think it might have been Bob Bunton, who was the head coach of Parkway North at the
Oh,
time.
son of a gun,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's
Yes.
he's our executive director.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so they kicked our butt for probably 3 years in a row, but he still still nominated me, which was an honor. But yeah, I mean, he obviously ran a great program there at Parkway North, and I think he ultimately was the one to nominate me.
Did you even know what that award was at that time?
I mean, I had a general idea. Obviously, it's a huge honor being chosen out of so many people in the St. Louis area. And I think every year I'm blown away by the talent that comes out of St. Louis. I think at the time it wasn't necessarily a hotbed for football. I think today people are starting to see that. You look at kind of the top 15 cities in the country that produce the most NFL talent. I think St. Louis is right up there. So obviously, being chosen as one of those people to get to represent the great state of great city of St. Louis, it was a huge honor and something that I could hang my hat on.
Definitely. In fact, I remember when I played California, Texas, Pennsylvania. Those were the hotbeds, that produced most of the football players. And I think I was the only one from Missouri on my Navy team. But in fact, you may know a guy that I played with was the strength coach when you were at Stanford. Was that Kevin Tolbert by any
Yeah,
chance?
one of them. Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
he played
I know him.
together.
Wow, small
He was
world.
an awesome fullback.
Yeah, I know that. I knew he was a fullback. Yeah, he was there for a year, and then he kind of moved on. I think he was at Michigan for a while with Harbaugh, but
Yeah.
he definitely brought kind of that military mindset to the weight room. He wasn't the type of guy you would want to cross the wrong way or not listen to his instructions, because he would definitely come down on you like a drill sergeant. That being said, great coach. And I think he has some strongman records to this day. If you Google him, there's like pictures of him like tossing kegs like 30 feet in the air or something.
You're at the dinner. What do you think about the dinner for the National Football Foundation?
Yeah, I thought it was a great event. Obviously, hearing kind of different stories. I think Jake Perrent's story, and as well as some other folks, just kind of taken aback that I'm in kind of the same standing as some of these individuals that have gone on to do such great things. And obviously, it was just a very classy event. I don't think it's very often you get to wear a tuxedo, let alone you get to wear a tuxedo as a football player. So I got to feel important for a little while, but I think that was quickly diminished after hearing kind of the other people that were involved and hearing everything that they had done and all of their accomplishments. So it was definitely an honor and something that, like I said, I hang my hat on to this day and talk about.
Lee, it's kind of funny the way each of you have the same response. You're always very humble, about the other players there and everything, and appreciative of your company there. Did you make any friends or keep in contact with any of the guys from there?
I wouldn't say I keep in close contact with any of them, but obviously there was a couple guys from Parkway North that were there, that the Hanson brothers that I had played in high school. There was Nick Demeen from Timberland who went on to play at University of Missouri. Just a lot of guys that you kind of respect across the St. Louis area, that you played with and knew growing up, even in kind of the middle school ranks. So obviously, I was familiar with a lot of them, but I think once you get to college, right, going to a school in California, everyone kind of went on their own way, and I've kind of kept up with these folks on social media, but I wouldn't say I'm extremely close to a lot of them.
It's funny you said the word respect, and it's the one difference I'd have to say about the National Football Foundation Awards is that it's just not about football. I mean, football, of course, is the foundation of it, but it's about character. It's about your academics and your community service and everything. So you guys have always had some great things to bring forward, and that's why you're picked. So it's kind of interesting when you talk about each other. I think you always have good things to say about everybody because you're all good people.
Right.
We picked you that way.
Right. Yeah, we wouldn't have gotten an invite to the dinner if we weren't, right? Um, so yeah, definitely. And I think, if you look at kind of St. Louis, I mentioned kind of the athletic prowess now, especially, but I think looking at kind of the St. Louis kind of school districts overall, I think from a public school district, even as well as kind of private, it's a very good academic metropolitan area. So to no surprise, there's very smart and kind of academically high achievers involved in that dinner. And I think just in general, St. Louis has kind of that pristine academic reputation. So no surprise that there were people there that kind of ended up doing great things.
Well, talking about academics, so you go on to Stanford then, and I mean, obviously you had great grades and good ACT scores in order to get in because you didn't go for football. You walked on to football, right?
Yeah, so it was a preferred walk on, so I won't act like I got in just alone on my academic merit. So I ended up I was looking at some Ivy League schools coming out of high school, Harvard and Penn. I had committed to Harvard, then I decided to commit to Penn, but I also kind of had in the back of my mind the whole time that I really wanted to go to Stanford. I ended up getting a call from Jim Harbaugh, kind of middle of March. I had already kind of committed, basically telling me to cancel my commitment to Penn and to walk on, become a preferred walk on to the Stanford team. So I ended up making that decision and going with it. I think the largest reason for that, I felt like I could play at that level. And I also realized that, look, long term, if I can play at this level, I can eventually earn a scholarship and have my kind of academics paid for. And that ended up happening at the Ivy League level. There's no kind of athletic scholarships, right? It's all need based. So I decided to take that risk and go for it and go to kind of my dream school at the time. Growing up, I really wanted to go to Notre Dame. My dad was a Domer, went to Notre Dame. My sister went to Notre Dame, so it was kind of in the family. So every year when Notre Dame and Stanford plays, it's pretty interesting to see who he's rooting for. The last few years, now that I'm not playing anymore, he's been rooting for Notre Dame, but he switched his allegiances for a few years, which rarely happens.
Who doesn't want to play for Notre Dame, right?
Yep. The Fighting Irish, yeah. I mean, they've just got a storied history. And I think for me, when I first kind of saw the campus, you grow up watching Rudy and seeing all these things about Notre Dame, but you get like butterflies, right? You're like, wow, this is crazy. So that didn't end up happening. I got recruited a little while by Notre Dame when Charlie Weiss was there, but then Charlie Weiss left, and it was Brian Kelly. They switched to a spread offense. So obviously, I'm not the prototypical player for a spread offense. So it ended up not working out. That being said, I think it was best case scenario for me to end up at Stanford, probably arguably one of the greatest academic institutions in the world, and one of the better athletic institutions in the world as well.
So you got to help me get past this one thing. The trees. I mean, were lions, tigers, and bears taken already, or what?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. So Stanford was originally the Indians, actually.
Oh, okay.
So they were forced to change their name for obvious political reasons, right? So we changed to Cardinal, right? The color Cardinal, not like the St. Louis Cardinals, the bird. I think it was kind of a play on like the Harvard Crimson, right? It's just a color. But the school symbol and kind of logo has a tree on it, and I don't know, for whatever reason that's what they adopted, and it's kind of been the calling card or the mascot for the Stanford marching band, which I don't know if you've ever seen, but
Oh yeah.
it's an anti-band, and I think there's deeper meanings behind that mascot, especially given the marching band and their kind of interests. But we'll save that for a private call.
Good call. I think it's a great place to be. And one of the, I know there's a story behind this, so I want you to tell this, but you went from walk-on to team captain at one point. So can you fill us in on that? Because I know it has some really good meaning there for people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so yeah, coming in as a walk-on, obviously you're treated a little bit differently than everyone else. You show up later. People had been there all throughout camp, and what I just really tried to do is just put my hard hat on, come with my lunch pail every day, and just work my tail off. And I think eventually, people start to realize that, and they see it not only kind of on the field, but everything beyond the field, in the classroom, in the weight room. And I think as I got older, I tried to, help the younger players on the team, help mentor them, help lead them in the right direction, make sure that they were kind of in the right place, whether it was, cooking a meal for them in my dorm room if they're underweight, or making sure that they're going to study hall or taking the right classes or going in on a Saturday to get stuff done on the field. So I think really kind of, taking a mentorship approach and working with people and really trying to improve them as well. I think that people kind of resonated to that. And I think people resonated to kind of that work ethic and, really kind of having that chip on my shoulder since day one.
You guys accumulated a couple of Pac-10 championships, and you're ranked in the top 10. What, 3 out of 5 years you were there?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. What did that feel like?
It felt pretty good. I won't take credit for those championships. I mean, I was a part of the team, but we also had great players like Andrew Luck, Zach Ertz. My last year played with Christian McCaffrey. So I was lucky enough to play with a lot of great players, right? And obviously, I didn't expect that going to Stanford. The year before I got there, it was the year of Toby Gerhart, and obviously they were a good team, but not a great team. I think they went 8-5. But I could kind of get the feeling throughout the recruitment process that they were building something great. And I kept hearing about this guy named Luck throughout my whole recruiting process from the coaches about how he's the best quarterback since Elway. And I think that ended up being true. And, I just think that the culture was in the right place and the trends were going in the right direction for the program. I also think that from a recruiting perspective, I think players across the country were starting to realize the importance of kind of an academic degree and going somewhere where you can come out of college, not play football, and still be set up for success down the road. So I think there were a lot of tailwinds that ultimately, helped us achieve that. And I think that, just knowing the locker room and who we were as guys, I think at the end of the day, what really kind of propelled us was the camaraderie, the teamwork, and the culture.
Brings a new meaning to having luck on your side, doesn't it?
Exactly.
One of the beautiful things that you just mentioned is that I've even talked to people who stayed in the NFL for 6, 8 years. It still seems fleeting to them. It's a pretty short period of time. Everybody knows, that the Brady's are very far and few in between to stay that long, right?
Right.
So you're going to go into something else. What did you want to be before you went to Stanford, and what did you want to be once you got to Stanford?
I don't like before I got to Stanford. I mean, there's probably a lot of things that I wanted to be. I mean, like any young kid, I think with aspirations, a CEO or an executive running a team, right? I think that's probably still the case to some extent, but I think I love what I do now as well. I also knew that I had kind of a propensity towards numbers and finance. I actually wrote kind of in 8th grade an essay about kind of what you want to be when you grow up, and for some reason I wrote it about investment banking, and it ended up happening that way. And I think the other really great thing about Stanford, right, is they actually set you up with internship programs in the summer. So when you're not training or working out, you're actually kind of working a job Monday through Friday. That's facilitated through kind of the athletic department. So I got kind of my foray into finance and investing, and also just technology and software in general, being in the Silicon Valley area. So that, I think that was a major kind of contributor to me being set up for success after I got released by the Panthers. Having those internships and having that real world experience, I think it was kind of an easy kind of transition to the real world per se, and moving on with my career.
It's so funny how you talk about like CEO and leading teams and just how it's so parallel to really what you've done. It's in school and on the field. You've led teams, and so it's just interesting how that translates so well to the business world. I
Yeah,
think.
definitely. Yeah, I think there's clear parallels to football and in the real world. I really do. I think that like if anything, football has taught me how to be a better business person, be a better teammate, be a better investor, even for that matter, in my current job. So I'm definitely thankful for those experiences and everything that it's taught me. It's also taught me that, hey, look, like if you fail at something, just keep going, just pick your head up and go through it again. I think a lot of people too don't necessarily know how to like take constructive criticism or deal with setbacks, but that's something you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Playing college football, having every kind of move and moment critiqued on film, right? So I think there are clear parallels, and I don't think I would be as good as I am in kind of the business world without kind of the foundation that football gave me.
What was it like when you were waiting for the draft? I mean, you're one of the few people that I know that have experienced that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting. So I got calls in the morning from a few teams. I ended up not getting drafted. I signed a free agent contract, but I got calls in the morning from a bunch of teams. But for whatever reason, I didn't get picked. But ended up signing.
Wrecking the whole
Yeah,
day, just waiting, or what?
yeah, just waiting. I had friends over to like barbecue and stuff, and there were a few other guys that were looking to get picked up as well. So I wasn't the only one that was kind of waiting for a phone call. But yeah, I mean, it was a very, very interesting experience. I think, for me, thankfully, I ended up at a good place, Carolina. At the time, they were a good kind of NFL program. I didn't realize that they would go to the Super Bowl that year. I think I could tell though, just based on kind of that camaraderie within the locker room, that there was something special. I think coming out of Stanford, you hear certain things about NFL locker rooms, that how they're different, that people are out for themselves. And I wouldn't say that was the case in the Panthers locker room. I think, starting with Ron Rivera, who's, by far and away probably the best coach I've ever played for. He's just a guy you look up to as kind of a role model, someone you want to be like. And I think from the top down, he built a program with Carolina and now is doing so with Washington. That's really about accountability, respect, and building towards something that's greater than yourself.
There's player coaches, and I think I hear that from a lot of the guys like you that really appreciate the guy that they got hooked up with. And it sounds like you're very happy about that, huh?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he was a great coach, and I think like his leadership attributes are unmatched from what I could see and what I saw during training camp. And I think a lot of guys were upset when he got released by the Panthers, but he's moved on, and they have too. So I'm sure he'll be just fine with the Redskins, and I wouldn't be surprised if they keep winning NFC East titles, which isn't a huge accomplishment these days, but they could win an NFC championship. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised.
Did McCaffrey come down there while you were still there, or was that later?
That was later. Yeah, that was later. He was a few years behind me, so we overlapped 1 year at Stanford.
Well, that's quite an experience, to go through that. You mentioned, I have to jump in on this because you mentioned twice. Once where you're mentoring and helping kids in Stanford, that you'd have them over and you'd feed them if they didn't, they help with weight. Then you mentioned being at a barbecue together, and I know you like to cook. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so growing up, I think like a lot of people, their mom does the cooking, right? And not to like set social norms or anything. I think it's perfectly fine for a dad to do the cooking, but for whatever reason, my dad always cooked dinner, and he was a pretty good chef. I think it runs in the family. So my great grandfather was one of the better pastry chefs in the United States. And I just always hung out with my dad in the kitchen growing up and watched what he did. And I think I just kind of assimilated that knowledge. I think also, weirdly enough, we would watch like Food Network and like Iron Chef as a kid, and I just loved it and like just took it all in. So to this day, I try to cook and make food. Unfortunately, kind of where I'm living now, I'm in an apartment building, so I can't like have a barbecue or anything. But I was like smoking a bunch of ribs and very like wings, meats, brisket, etc. When I was in California, and I kind of made that a weekend hobby and would invite people over when I could to enjoy it and just hang out. So yeah, I would say it's one of my passions, and thankfully it's a good passion to have.
I think the Green Egg, the headquarters is in Atlanta for the Green Egg, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. I think I saw it the other day. I really want to get like a Traeger or a Rectech, like one of those Wi-Fi automatic, but it almost feels like cheating, right? So I feel like you also have to get like one of the big rig like wood fire ones just to say you have it if you're really passionate about it. So down the road when I get a backyard, there'll definitely be all the various tools you can use.
Well, when you start regulating them, you got that Wi-Fi though, and it comes in handy when you do the briskets or you do the long smoke, low and slow thing, because otherwise you're running back and forth, right?
Right. Yeah. I think the Wi-Fi is huge. It's crazy how far technology's come even the last like 5 to 10 years on that stuff.
So tell me, I always like to ask guys to give a plug for what they do now, where they work, and so do that for us, would you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I work for a private equity fund here in Atlanta. So what we do is we invest in businesses. I would say in traditional industries, so like business services, industrials, pretty much anything under the sun that's not technology. And when we invest, we go in with a plan to develop technology or digitally transform these businesses. So we'll have a whole roadmap through our investment kind of horizon to develop software or develop technology. So I'm working there on kind of the investment team, also supporting some of our current investments. The first investment we made was actually in a non-contact youth football league. So the largest non-contact youth football league in the country now. It's called Gridiron Football. What we did is we acquired 75 local flag, flex, and 7-on-7 football leagues across the United States. Basically created a consolidated platform, and now we've built a bunch of software and technology on top of kind of those leagues so that they can better manage the process of registering, refereeing, the game day experience. We even have an e-commerce platform where the players can buy gear. So it's really kind of managing everything from end to end. If you're kind of a parent or a player in kind of non-contact football, and obviously thinking about everything that's going on with football and CTE, brain problems. I think that this is a great kind of opportunity for kids to develop the necessary skills to be good at football, and even do it year round without having to worry about kind of the typical injuries that occur as a result of tackle and contact football.
That's awesome. I mean,
Wow.
and the timing is impeccable because of, like you said, CTE. And then think about, I'm seeing more and more attention being given to the skills, the skill like catching and kicking and punting and snapping and even footwork and everything at an age where you don't have to be running head onto each other at a young age to learn those things that you might need later.
Right.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
let me tell my viewers, why don't you tell them how would someone look into that more that might help you a little bit? Because we got a lot of coaches, a lot of viewers, and they might want a program like that around them.
Yeah, it's just Gridiron Football. I mean, you can Google it. I think the website's gridironfb.com. So I didn't make the investment at the fund, but I am supporting it now. So I work directly with the CEO and president on various initiatives. A lot of it kind of numbers driven initiatives, but nonetheless, kind of working directly with the team there. But yeah, I think it's a great program to get involved in. I think what at the end of the day we're really trying to do is improve the experience for the player and the parents. Because if you go to some local kind of flag league, you'll see one referee, the playbook or the rule book isn't standardized. So our real goal is to improve the game day experience so that players keep coming back. So there's 2 referees at every game. There's a standardized rule book. The rostering and scheduling is set up around kind of fair matching so that there's no kind of discrepancies in teams. So it's really kind of set up for the players. There's also a bunch of opportunities to get involved from kind of a clinics or academies perspective where you can kind of further progress your skills as a player. So yeah, I would check out Gridiron Football, Google it, or gridironfb.com, because I think it's a great program that I really wish existed when I was a child, because my parents didn't let me play football growing up until 6th grade. I played baseball, soccer, all of the typical sports you play, but there also wasn't the opportunity to get involved in kind of the non-contact side of football.
One of the reasons we do this is to we want to reach our sponsors and we want to reach our membership and show them that they're making good investments and the money is going to a good place. I mean, consider it if we took in $1 million worth of donations and we didn't tell anybody where that went to, or we didn't keep our promise of using that in the proper way, that'd be horrific. But on
Right.
the other hand, if you show them what you're doing with it and how it is really paying off with communities and helping people, then it ends up being on the other end of the spectrum where it's a wonderful program. So we want the people to know that we have a wonderful program. What are some of the things that, with your business mind, that you'd say to sponsors and membership on why it would be a good investment, or why it's good to back some of these kids that we recognize and where they're going to go and what they're going to become?
Yeah, I think earlier we were kind of discussing all of the things that, translated from football off the field, right? And I think having that from a young age, right, and really learning teamwork, learning how to work with others, being collaborative, I think, having that from a young age is really important and can set up a kid for success later down the road, right? So I think really thinking through kind of what football did for me and what football can do for others. It's only going to do those things if they have the opportunity to do it, right? So thinking through that, I think it could transform a lot of people's lives and really make a difference to their futures and kind of the type of person they are even after kind of playing football.
And as an investor or sponsor, what do you get out of that when you give to a program like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing that, look, like at the end of the day, what you're doing has a greater good. I think for me that the thing I've always tried to really look for in what I'm doing in life, and not just kind of, economic benefits, but, providing to the greater good and having a deeper meaning in what I'm doing, outside of just money, I think is really important. And I think having a deeper meaning and really being able to give back to people, in less kind of fortunate areas, for people that are kind of have the benefit of, having money or, better circumstances. I think at the end of the day, it's really important, and it kind of gives you a deeper meaning in life. And that's something that I think I've realized, right? And I always feel better when I feel like I'm giving back, or there's something more to it than just kind of money or work, right?
You know what? I tell you, you guys continue to amaze me. Humble, smart, just a really good representation of our program, and it just really makes me feel good that we show some people like you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys chose me too. So I appreciate it. Obviously, it was a huge honor at the time, and it's a huge honor to even talk to you guys today, and that you even picked me for a conversation. I don't know why, but I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Lee, it
All
was
right.
so good to meet you. Just an honor, and just really awesome stuff that you're doing. And it's
Thank
just
you. The
Yep.
honor's all mine, guys.